When Audi introduced their smallest and most affordable SUV to America called the Q3 a little over a decade ago, that vehicle was not only late to the subcompact luxury SUV space, but it was also late in general because other markets already saw the Q3 about 5 years sooner before we got it in America. Now that prompted Audi to introduce an all-new second generation pretty early, back in 2019, significantly upping the luxury, technology, and presence of the Q3 back then. However, for 2026, Audi is looking to redefine the segment once again with an all-new third generation. As you can see from the looks of this car, it would appear like Audi is no longer playing around because this all-new Q3 gets a substantial glow up. It moves to their MQB Evo architecture, which means it's larger on the outside, larger on the inside, and underneath the hood, we have the most standard power in the segment, courtesy of a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. So today we're here in San Luis Obispo because we're finally getting an opportunity to drive the all-new third generation Q3, and the big question I want answered, has Audi made enough changes to their smallest and most affordable SUV to allow this vehicle to become the new segment leader? Stay tuned to find out. So Audi may have brought us to SLO, California. That's the acronym for San Luis Obispo, but underneath the hood, the Q3 is certainly anything but slow, courtesy of the most power that's standard that you're gonna get in the subcompact luxury SUV space. This is the company's latest and greatest, the 2-liter EA888 turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder. There's no mild hybrid assist with this vehicle, but Audi basically has dropped the lower output version of the car that they offered in the previous generation. So all Q3s get up to 255 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. That's nearly 30 more horsepower and around 22 more pound-feet of torque versus the previous generation in the 45T. So that's a pretty hefty increase, and Audi again claims this is the most standard horsepower they're gonna get in the class. So compare this car to like an X1, a GLA, an Acura ADX, a Lexus UX, a Volvo XC40. This, however, does not have the most torque. The BMW and the Volvo has a little bit more torque, but still, the most horsepower is certainly nice. Quattro all-wheel drive is going to be standard, so there's no front drive version of this car, even though this is a transverse mounted engine. It's their MQB Evo architecture. Quattro all-wheel drive is standard, and of course, the bigger change that Audi made to the powertrain this year is the new transmission. So last year's 8-speed torque converter slushbacks has been replaced by a new 7-speed S-tronic dual-clutch transmission. So that dual-clutch is certainly going to help us get improved acceleration and even improved fuel efficiency. It also now includes launch control. So we'll try out the 0 to 60 time when we get this vehicle on the road, because Audi claims it's now 5.5 seconds, a significant improvement versus the 7 seconds in the previous generation. Top speeds around 130 miles an hour. And the new Q3 can now tow up to 1,500 pounds. And despite the new platform, the larger size, the curb weight of this vehicle actually stays roughly the same at just over 3,900 pounds. So again, pretty impressive specs. However, if you're looking for like a hybrid or a high performance version, this is where Audi sadly does not offer that here in America, but they do offer those powertrains in other markets. So hopefully the company will eventually add more powertrain options, assuming this car continues to do well in terms of sales. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the brand new exterior styling for this vehicle. Now, first of all, this color is called Malpelo Blue. It was a new color that they introduced on the A6 e-tron a couple years ago, and it certainly looks really good with the lines of the all-new Q3. This car certainly looks like a baby Q5 or even a baby Q8. I think Audi did a fantastic job with the styling direction that they went. You can see the company's corporate single-frame grille here is appearing to be much wider and larger. You have a design that kind of reminds you a lot of the Q6 e-tron. However, unlike the Q6, the grille is actually open because it requires cooling for the engine. You can see it has the new Audi corporate logo there with the 4 rings. Those rings do not illuminate, but behind the rings, you're gonna find the radar sensor for the adaptive cruise control, the forward collision assist. My test car has a technology package that rolls in the full 360 camera, along with well-integrated parking sensors. The front fascia, you can see, has that trendy divorced look for the lighting. So at the top portion, you have their digital light signature, where you can actually change it to 3 different light signatures. It also has a welcome animation and coming home or exiting the vehicle function, where the car will kind of greet you as you lock and unlock the vehicle. It also houses the daytime running light and LED turn signals, which are also sequential, which is really nice. The headlights, you can see, separate from the actual running lights. You have a projector high and low beam. The company offers their OLED or matrix design headlights in other markets where they project symbols. Sadly, however, here in the US, they don't actually offer that feature because it's not street legal. You can see at the driver's side below the headlight, there's a little fake area there that tries to look like vents. That's not functional. However, if you come over to this side, On the passenger side, there is an auxiliary cooling radiator here, so this is a functional opening on the passenger side, which is a nice touch. My test car also has the black optics package for $750 that blacks out the trim down here along the lower front splitter. And in general, with this kind of more upright stance, the enlarged single frame grille, this Malpelo blue exterior, Audi did a really great job with this vehicle. I actually think this car looks better versus the Q5, their larger SUV, but let me know in the comments section below what you guys think of the design. Now, as we move around to the side profile of the Q3, it certainly looks like a lot bigger of a vehicle versus the previous generation, but it's actually not that much bigger. Its wheelbase is 105.6, it's 0.1 inches longer. Its overall length is 178.6 inches long. That's just under 2 inches longer than the previous generation. This car is around 1.2 inches taller as well. So that gives it a more upright, boxier, more substantial design that I think is kind of carrying over nicely to the car in general. As you look at the wheels, Audi offers a choice between either an 18, 19, or a 20-inch wheel. My test car for $1,800 has the upgraded 20-inch alloy wheels. Actually, Audi actually calls it a tripod design to the wheel for the spokes. You actually can kind of see that in the spoke design. The wheels also enlarge the tires. This is a 255 by 40 R20-inch tires. So definitely a nice stance to it. Brake rotors are 13.4 inches in the front, 12.2 at the back. It's a single piston floating design, Audi said the ground clearance is right around 6 or 7 inches for this vehicle. You do have an all-independent suspension, but the adaptive dampers that you get in other markets sadly has not made it to here in the US, but we'll talk about the driving characteristics and the ride quality later on. This is definitely not an S product, so it's not like an R or an SQ3. However, what's nice about the US market is Audi did make their S-Line body sport styling standard on all versions of the Q3, so that certainly helps make this car a lot sportier. In fact, in terms of the trim line structure, there aren't any more trims like Premium or Premium Plus. Audi offers it as one specific trim, and then there are certain option packages that you can option in. Now, of course, with the black optics package, you get black painted side mirrors, black trim along the window surrounds. The mirrors are also power folding, and you can see the roof rails have almost like this satin aluminum look to the black trim, which I think looks really nice with the gloss black. You can see the panoramic sunroof. That's standard equipment on all versions of the Q3, so you don't have to pay extra for it like you might on some competitors. And then as you come over to the rear of the vehicle, you can see this is the standard square back design. In other markets, they're going to offer a sport back look, but not here in the US. But it already has kind of like a coupified SUV design to it. I also like the way the integrated rear spoiler looks with the third brake light that's kind of well integrated there. The rear wiper, as you can see, sits at the bottom of the actual glass. And then looking at the design of the rear, I love these new taillights. These actually are similar to the taillights we've seen on the new A6 gas-powered model. You can see you can actually get OLED taillights for the first time on the Q3, which also gives you 3 separate light signatures if you guys want to choose from when you get the OLED taillights. The actual turn signal, as you can see, is a sequential design. So it's part of the LED light bar that really accentuates the added width of this vehicle. The actual brake light is this area right here. So this is just the taillight. This is the brake light. It certainly gives this car a unique light signature, which also pairs nicely with the illuminated rear Audi logo. Anytime the headlights are on, this rear logo lights up, which again gives this car a really expensive look from the back, and it makes the car look instantly recognizable as an Audi, which I appreciate. Some of you have questioned the font that Audi chooses for their new script here for Q3, but I think it looks nice, especially in all black. Obviously, there's a Quattro badge here to show off that this comes standard with their Quattro all-wheel drive system. And then with the standard S-Line body styling, you get a more aggressive rear diffuser with basically this whole panel being a fake vent. It would be nice to see some exposed exhaust on this car, however. As you can see, if you look underneath here, there's actually dual exhaust tips that are pointed downward, but again, a lot of brands are moving away from exposed exhaust, although Audi does offer it on their performance models, so that kind of gives me hope that Audi will offer an SQ3 or an RSQ3 here in the US. Now, a power liftgate is actually included. It's standard equipment across the board with a hands-free function, and as you can see, in terms of the cargo space, the new Q3 also delivers in that regard. You get 25 cubic feet of storage space with the second row seats up. You can slide the seats forward to expand that to 29 cubic feet of space, which is among the best in the segment. There's also some storage off to the side here and off to the side over there. And then unlike some rivals, Audi does include a temporary spare tire underneath here with all the necessary tools. So that's a great feature where you don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit like some competitors. If you fold down the seats, which you cannot do from back here, it appears, it'll expand the cargo to just under 50 cubic feet of storage space. 50 cubic feet is definitely class competitive, but I do want to point out it's a little bit less versus what you got in terms of maximum cargo than the previous generation, but you do get more cargo space in this new version when you have all the seats up. So Audi clearly knocked it out of the park with the exterior design of the all-new third generation Q3, but what about the interior? First of all, the Malpelo blue exterior on my test car is complemented by this parchment beige leather interior. So the nice thing about the new Q3 is every model comes standard with real leather trim, so none of that fake leatherette material like you might find on some competitors. This parchment beige looks good with the exterior color and the contrast stitching and piping. The driver's seat adjusts in 12 different ways. The passenger seat also has a power adjustment. You get a two-person memory as well on the driver's side. These seats are also heated. However, sadly, if you guys are looking for ventilated seats, Audi does not offer that on the new Q3, although you technically don't find that feature in a lot of its rivals, although the Acura ADX offers it, same with the Lexus UX. So I would like Audi to offer ventilated seats at some point. Now, in terms of the door panel materials, as you can see, it's kind of an interesting design where you have this soft touch injection molded plastic, where this actually feels pretty high quality, but it also has an interesting design and texture to it. You have this plastic accented aluminum look door handle, which is nice. The 12 speaker Sonos branded sound system is part of a technology package, I believe, for an extra $1,000. You have this kind of nice padded leather area here, this almost like cloth material here, which has the texture and weave of carbon fiber, which looks pretty good. And then you can see there's like a floating handle here. This is where you grab the door to close it, which is nice. Hard touch plastic down here with additional storage. Your memory controls are located here, along with your power liftgate controls. And then the window controls are one touch up, down for all four. They have a high quality tactile feel that you expect from an Audi vehicle on the inside. But let's go ahead and hop inside, however, and talk about the rest of this cabin, because there's definitely a lot of things to talk about. Now, first of all, as I shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the MLB Evo architecture on a lot of the newer Volkswagen Audi products. Here's the key fob for the vehicle. Audi's latest corporate intelligent access key fob is standard. It's a nice design. It's not too big, which is great. It has your typical buttons here for lock, power liftgate function, unlock, and you can see the panic functions on the back. No remote start from the fob in general. I really want Audi to start offering that on a lot of their newer models. Now, as you can see, once you're inside, start stop button is located down here in the center console. Push that, you can hear this is not a mild hybrid here in the US or hybrid, so it has a very traditional starter noise, the traditional Audi chime, which can be a little annoying at times. But as you can see, every Q3 comes with their latest UI interface with their digital stage cockpits. So as you can see, it's comprised of two screens. You have a 12.8-inch center display with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is also wireless. I have my phone connected because it was kind of being finicky and not connecting wirelessly at the time, but that's with the CarPlay connected, which it looks good. This is a slightly smaller screen versus the bigger Audis, which is at 14.5, but this is still nearly 3 inches bigger than the previous generation. Here on the driver's side, you have an 11.9-inch display, which also has their latest software, which now allows you to put maps back in the actual infotainment or instrument panel display. So that was a feature that Audi removed on the first versions of their digital stage cockpit, so it's great to see that come back. You're also probably noticing, however, there's a lot of unused real estate here on the upper portion of the driver display. You can't actually make that expand, and Audi says they have it like that because from my viewpoint here on the driver's side, the steering wheel is going to block this upper portion. So Audi says they kind of positioned the screen to be lower here so you don't have anything blocked out of the way. Obviously, the wheel has a tilt telescoping function. If you move the wheel up, you do have access more to that. But in general, it's nice how Audi brought the map display back. I just wish that they would get rid of some of the, unused black real estate that you find on their digital stage. It kind of makes the screen look a little bit less upscale. Now, with the technology package, you also get a head-up display, which is nice. You have Audi's latest corporate steering wheel, which I heard that Audi may end up replacing this steering wheel next year with actual hard buttons for replacing the touch sensitive buttons here, and also they have a new 3-spoke wheel design. I don't love the way this steering wheel looks, and a lot of you have also voiced that you don't like Audi's new logo because it loses that 3-dimensional metal look of their previous logo. If you guys look at the Audi Concept C that they showed last year that has a new steering wheel, you can expect Audi to basically implement a lot of the design and trim choices and style choices from that Concept C onto their newer products. So this may not stick around, so kind of keep that in mind if you're looking at this vehicle. Now, obviously, one big thing we need to talk about is this new kind of command center. Now, Audi used to have a traditional shifter for the old Q3. That's moved to, as you can see by this big long black plastic piece here. However, at the end of this panel, you have two stalks. Now, they function like every other stock you've tried before. You can see the turn signal is here. It has a nice satisfying click sound when you're activating the turn signal. Your wiper controls are also here. You can still kind of click it up slightly and that'll give you the 3 blinks. Obviously, your cruise control, adaptive cruise control is located here. And then this is your drive modes or your gear selector. So this functions like a lot of the features you'll find in like a Mercedes, for example, where you basically just push it up, that goes into reverse to reveal your backup camera. I don't love the quality and resolution there of the camera there. However, it does have a nice top-down view. That 360 camera is, again, part of a technology package. The backup camera is standard. It also has automatic parallel parking, parking sensors, cross-traffic braking. If I push it down, it goes into drive. Push it again, down, it goes into its sport setting. Push the end of this to go into park. So this may look a little intimidating at first. However, once you start using it, it literally takes like another 5 seconds and you'll recognize how this system works. You can see there's also paddle shifters to control the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. The wheel offers a nice amount of adjustability so you can get comfortable. And as you can see with your phone connected, you can't expand it to take up the entire screen, but it certainly looks good. It's quick, it's responsive, it's snappy. It has their latest software, of course, where you can see there's your Google Maps built in. And then if I go to the tiles here, you can see a completely different look versus when the digital stage first came out. I like how the icons are bigger. They're also kind of gray in the back, so you can see it a little bit more clear. You can also scroll down to, you know, access features like YouTube built in. It also has racing, beach buggy racing built in. You have access to the Google Play Store as well, because this is basically Android Automotive, where you can download different apps, and you can also put Apple Music. So if you don't want to use the CarPlay, that's a really nice touch. You can go to the car display here. You can see you can literally scroll around the car. Although I wish it was kind of the same color as the model I'm driving. This is where you can access the drive mode selector. There's balanced, dynamic, comfort, and an off-road plus mode. Now the suspension is not adaptive or air, so it really is just software tuning and the traction control tuning. It does include a downhill assist control, but we'll try out the different drive modes later on during the driving scene. If you go here into the lights, you can go to interior lighting. Audi offers 30 different color combinations now to adjust the interior lighting. So this is definitely a nice touch. This is a feature that was unavailable on the previous generation. It's now standard equipment. So there's a lot more features in this car that they didn't offer before. You can see down here, the lower portion, this is where your climate is always fixed. You have your 3-level heated seats, which is now a touch sensitive control. You can also bring up the climate menu here and adjust a couple of things. The heated steering wheel, as you can see, is also located here in the screen. And if you guys want the heated steering wheel, it's bundled with the technology driver assistance package, which is kind of interesting how Audi bundles that. They expect most people to choose, however, their full driver assistance tech. It's 3-level heated steering wheel. There's also a button here on the wheel as well. But again, this touch sensitive button will eventually most likely switch over to a hard button at some point in 2027. Now, in terms of the rest of the materials, you can see there's like a cloth material here from the door panel carried over onto the dash. This upper portion is soft touch injection molded plastic. This is a natural wood inlay, which Audi actually says this is like the biggest piece of wood they've put on any of their cars. It's nice how it's real wood. It feels like real wood, although it doesn't look like real wood, but Audi assures me that it's real wood. It looks good with the parchment beige interior, along with the LED ambient lighting. I also appreciate how the dash vents are not digital. They're just a traditional big tab, which actually offers a pretty nice, satisfying click when you're adjusting the airflow. There's tri-zone automatic climate control is standard, and then you can see down here, you have quick access to your drive mode selector, your stability control off. You can pull up your automatic 360 camera, and then you can also pull up your Audi driver assistance tech with this car, which if you want like their hands-free driving assist tech, it is part of that technology package for an extra charge. Your wireless phone charging pad is now standard. That was previously optional in the previous generation. It also has faster charging and a built-in vent to keep your phone cool, which is a nice feature. A lot of these wireless phone charging pads overheat your phone and they tend not to work very well. There's a traditional 12-volt power outlet here, 2 USB-Cs. I don't love all the piano black here. This is going to get fingerprints and smudges all over it. However, by moving the shifter away from this area and onto here, you now have bigger cup holders, a little bit more storage. You have an actual volume knob here, which I appreciate, your electronic parking brake, and you can see there's a nice padded center console here. Open this up. It's a relatively big size, and it actually has a deeper storage area where I can literally find more hidden storage underneath there. So that's kind of the extra space that they utilize by moving the gear selector. So it's nice how Audi, again, gave us a little bit more storage. Now above me, you can see there's a nice panoramic glass sunroof that actually opens up to vent air and tilts with a retractable shade. That's standard, so you don't have to pay extra for it, which is nice. You have a woven material for the headliner, LED map lighting, of course. The seats are also very comfortable and supportive. I just wish they were ventilated, but the padding feels good. This is going to be great on a longer trip. There's no adjustable thigh extender, though. This is, again, a smaller and more affordable Audi. And then in terms of the glove box, you can see it's huge. It's a bin style, it's stamped, and it's lined with felt. And if you guys are an audiophile, the Sonos sound system is definitely worth the extra $1,000 charge. It's interesting how Audi is moving away from Bang & Olufsen for their smaller models, but again, it's a nice feature to have, especially if you guys like the interior. So overall, the front seat area is definitely a big improvement over the previous generation in terms of tech, in terms of storage. Interior quality also feels pretty high, so it's nice to see Audi is making some nice changes to kind of make their interiors feel among the best in the segment once again. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area, and I can show you guys what that space is like. Now, the previous generation Q3 had a very usable back seat, especially when you look at the class of vehicle. Now, that continues for 2026 because Audi has preserved some of the features that you probably loved. First of all, this seat has a little lever here where you can literally slide the seat forward and back. You can actually move it up almost like 4 inches. There's like no legroom here when you do that, but this is to increase the space in the cargo area, and it also includes the ability to kind of recline the seat. So this is with it kind of like in its most upright position. This is in its most reclined position. You can also obviously fold the seat down to expand the cargo. Almost a completely flat floor here, and it's a 40-20-40 split design. So this is a really nice feature for kind of utilizing the maximum practicality in this vehicle. Now, as I get inside, let's go ahead and talk about the space. Now, this is basically my driving position as I shut the door. The door has the same solid sounding thunk, and Audi says you have just over 36 inches of legroom back here. 36 inches is pretty class competitive, a little bit less versus something like the Acura ADX, which I think has best in class, but this is more versus a GLA or a Lexus UX. Not a completely flat floor, as you can see, for the middle passenger, but I'm 5'7". I can easily get comfortable with plenty of foot space. I can sort of cross my legs and get comfortable back here. But in general, this is a lot more usable than I thought it would be. You do have rear seat air vents, which is nice. Tri-zone automatic climate control, which you typically don't find in this class. It's standard. 2 USB-Cs, which is also standard, which is a nice touch. The storage pockets here, like I mentioned, you have the same soft touch injection molded plastic from the front carrying over to the back. So they didn't skimp on the interior quality back here. It's also nice and padded here. Windows, like I said, one touch up, down. They have that satisfying high quality clicky feel to it. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see I have a solid maybe 3 inches of additional clearance. So there's a nice carve out here to give you a little bit more headroom space along with the LED lighting. There's adjustable headrests back here, and you also have a cup holder and armrest that folds down. So it's a pretty comfortable space, especially if you guys, have taller friends or you need to fit a child seat back here, although the door doesn't open up quite large. But in general, if you guys do need more space, obviously Audi will happily sell you a Q5, but this is still among the better back seats you're gonna find in the subcompact luxury SUV space. So the new Audi Q3 has always been a very popular model for Audi, but now that we're finally behind the wheel of the new version with substantially more power, Audi claims 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. Let's go ahead and see what we can get here. Ooh. All right, so one of the beauties about this new version is the fact that it now gets launch control because it's now equipped with a dual clutch transmission. As you guys saw, to activate the launch control, you have to put it in sport, hit the stability control off button once, and that's what'll give you that 0 to 60 time of 5.86 seconds there. But let's go ahead and try one more run here. Wow, 4,000 clutch dump. All right, so we got 5.8 seconds there, and this is with it on pretty level roads, so that's pretty impressive. Now, Audi claims 5.5, which typically the Germans are conservative. I suspect when I get this car back home, it should probably get closer to that 5.5 second mark, but still, that speed, or that time, is significantly faster versus a lot of its rivals, which are typically in the mid 6 second range. The poor Acura ADX is literally in the 8.5 second range. The Lexus UX is in the 7 second range, so that time is very impressive. I also appreciate the fact that this transmission is typical smooth of an Audi dual clutch. When I put my foot down, it's pretty quick to adjust its ratios, and it's also very snappy. It doesn't have any of that lurchiness, that kind of jerkiness that you associate with a dual clutch transmission. It also includes these paddle shifters, which do a great job at actually rev matching. I also like the sound of this engine. It has that typical 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder sound, but it feels a little bit more guttural. It has more of an interesting note versus some of the tinny and vacuum cleaner noises you get from a lot of its competitors. So I think Audi did a great job with the overall powertrain in this car. It's nice that they went to a dual clutch. It's nice that we have more power, and we also have about the same weight. Now, in terms of the handling dynamics, the steering and suspension obviously have been retuned. No adaptive dampers on this car, but as you can see, we're driving through the local area here in San Luis Obispo, and the roads aren't great, but this car's suspension soaks up the bumps nicely. Even though we're on these big 20-inch wheels, I don't really feel much in terms of impact harshness. There's a little bit more road noise than I'd like, although the roads, as you can see, are just really crappy. But in general, this car is just really easy to drive. It has good visibility. I can see out of the front, the side, and the rear quite easily. No digital camera rear view mirror is available, but it's not really needed thanks to that big view out of the back. When I put my foot down, you can see I took the transmission out of its sport and just put it into drive. There are times where you can feel some of the lurchiness, but that's kind of the trademark of a dual clutch. It's going to shift a lot smooth or a lot quicker. It'll have a little bit of that jerkiness at times, but at the same time, it feels a lot more engaging. This car in general just feels so much more sporty, but at the same time, it's still comfortable. So I think people are going to be quite surprised with the overall package. And then of course, there's this new command center here, which the turn signal stock is this kind of like stock where it still functions like a traditional turn signal. If I signal right, you can basically just push the stock up. It has the 3 clicks, obviously. And you can also push it up completely to kind of make it lock into place, or if you need to make a left turn, for example. And then this car also comes with start-stop, which if you have the start-stop activated, which we'll see if it'll actually shut the engine off here. It doesn't include, obviously, like a mild hybrid, so it does take a little bit of time when you release it, or release your foot off the brake. So I personally would probably go with just having the start-stop off all the time. It would be nice if Audi would do, again, a mild hybrid system so you don't have to deal with the jerkiness of that. But in general, it's a relatively refined powertrain that has nice sounds, it's got a good transmission, and it also has the speed, which is definitely nice when you need to get in front of a car because the lane's ending. But yeah, I like the sound. This is a really nice sounding engine. It has plenty of power, lots of refinement. There's not really any vibration coming through the steering wheel, through the floor and whatnot. And the steering in this car, as you can see, is pretty quick and direct. Now, obviously, this is not a RS Q3 or an SQ3 even, but this car will shock you. It has the kind of nimbleness that you look for in a German brand. I mean, Audis have always been on the sportier end, which also they tend to be a little bit more comfort. They've always been a really well-balanced vehicle, and the new Q3 definitely feels like it's very well-balanced. There's not a single squeak and rattle in this interior, which is also nice. And as we go around this corner here, the suspension doesn't have too much in terms of lean, but it also is still very softly tuned. Obviously, the S-Line package is a package designed to make it look sportier. Does it handle sportier than a car without the S-Line package? I'll never know because they don't offer that here in America. But in general, this car with its comfortable seats, its solidly made interior, the new technology that they gave this car, and when you put your foot down, the dual clutch definitely will help put a smile on your face. So I really appreciate the entire package of this car. It seems like a huge improvement. I actually think I might like the way this car drives more than the last Q5 that I drove. Obviously, the Q5 comes standard with the 2-liter turbo with more power, but this 0 to 60 time should be pretty similar to the new Q5, which again is a heavier vehicle, even though it has a little bit more power. Now, I forgot to mention the fuel economy over in the under the hood scene, but this is rated at 22 in the city, 29 on the highway. Obviously, I can't do a fuel economy test here because we're on a really short media drive for the vehicle. But on a full tank, it was showing around 425 miles of range. That's pretty impressive, and Audi says it gets those power figures on regular gas. So with its 16.5 gallon fuel tank, you don't have to fill this thing up with premium like you do in most of its competitors. The only other vehicle that uses regular, I think, are the Japanese offerings, the Lexus UX and the Acura ADX. So it's nice how Audi doesn't require you to use premium. It would be nice, however, if they still offered this vehicle as a hybrid option, as a plug-in hybrid. Again, those different variations are available in other versions of the Q3, so kind of keep that in mind. You know what? It's straight road here, and there's nobody behind us, so we're going to try another 0 to 60 run here. Turn the stability control off. That's where you activate the launch. Oof. All right, there we go. We got 5.55 seconds there, and that's, again, still pretty much on level ground. That's pretty impressive. So it's nice to see that Audi really favored performance with this new version, because the old model was definitely slower than its rivals, even though in the real world, I never thought it was that slow, but still, that is a nice improvement. So if you guys are an enthusiast, you had your eye on an A3, but you need additional space, you want a little bit better technology, more practicality, you should definitely be putting the new Q3 at the very top of your list. Now, it's no secret that Audi has been facing some sales challenges here in the US. Over the last couple of years, their sales have consistently been down, so the company has been working on one of the most, aggressive product cadences in a long time. There's so many new products that Audi is introducing over the last few years, and there's still more new products to come. In fact, this Q3 is the company's smallest and most affordable SUV. They managed to sell just over 24,000 units here in the US last year. It was technically Audi's second bestseller. However, they did at one point sell over 30,000 units, but with the addition of this new version here, I wouldn't be surprised to see some people who are considering a Q5 to kind of migrate over to the Q3, because they definitely gave this car one of the biggest glow-ups that you're gonna find in the subcompact luxury SUV space. As you guys saw, the performance you get from the engine delivers impressive results in terms of 0 to 60. You'll easily get in that mid 5.5 second range, perhaps even quicker when we get this vehicle back home. And I also appreciate the fact that the car is still very comfort oriented while also remaining sporty. The ride quality is good. The interior is much quieter as well, thanks to that double pane glass, which is standard equipment on all models, which is not a feature that you typically find in this segment. And even though this model has the 20-inch wheels, I thought that the ride was nice. It would be nice if Audi offered their adaptive dampers, but again, they tried to simplify things here in the US market. The interior also, while it does have that kind of eyesore looking digital stage cockpit design, the software behind the technology also is much improved. I also like that new command control center that houses the turn signal, the wipers, and the drive selector or the gear selector. I think it's a nice feature that Audi kept with the tactile controls. The seats are comfortable, the back seat is usable, and the cargo space is among the bigger entries in the segment. I just really want Audi to expand the lineup of the Q3. If they're gonna get more sales of this vehicle, they need to expand the offerings. I'd like to see like a higher performance SQ3 or an RSQ3. I'd like to see them offer some kind of electrified hybrid or plug-in hybrid variant for the car. And they also offer a more sleeker Sportback in other markets. I don't expect Audi to bring us the Sportback here because small SUVs don't typically sell. But again, the Q3 still remains one of the top selling vehicles in the segment. And of course, with all the improvements that Audi has made, you're probably wondering, what's it gonna cost you? Well, these are now already at Audi dealerships, and the pricing for this model, because Audi has kind of simplified things and made the car with more standard equipment, it now starts at $43,700. That's plus a $1,300 destination charge. That's nearly $5,000, around $4,000 more than the previous generation. However, you should notate the previous generation had a lot less power, it had a lot less features as well. And when you factor in that most people were buying a Q3 as a premium plus in the previous generation, adding in those features, Audi claims that the actual price delta is only around $500. So that's actually not bad. And also keep in mind, this Q3 comes standard with the company's free scheduled maintenance for 3 years. That used to be an extra like $1,300 if you wanted to buy that from the dealership. Now, in terms of what this particular one is priced at, it does have all of the options you can basically add to a Q3. From the technology package to the 20-inch alloy wheels to the black optics package to the infotainment package and the destination charge and the upcharge for the color. My test car here is around $51,790. So just under 52 grand is actually a really good deal. Remember, today's average new car transaction price is around $50,000. And if you guys look at the pricing of this vehicle, it tops out basically where a base Q5 is gonna start. A Q5 comparably equipped is nearly gonna be $10,000 more than this. And Audi has also priced this car right in line with its other European rivals like the X1 and the Mercedes GLA. The Acura ADX and Lexus UX are a lot less expensive, but they also have a lot less power and they also just don't have quite the prestige and sportiness that you get with the Audi Q3. So in general, I definitely find this car to be a big improvement, and it definitely feels like it's now the new benchmark in the space. I just am looking forward to seeing what Audi is going to follow it up with, because I would like to see a more higher performance variant at some point. Well, all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my very detailed overview on the brand new 2026 Audi Q3. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.